Hey, what's good YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to have an open conversation with you. I am asked at least once a day what my thoughts are on the current state of Crucible, so I figured making this video would be a good way to share my thoughts and feelings. Just like any other player, I have my own concerns that I'd like to discuss and provide some feedback on, even though I don't consider myself the most qualified to state what should be fixed and how. As you're listening, I want you to keep in mind that this video applies to all areas of the Crucible. So unless a specific game mode is stated, assume what I am saying can be applied to any of them. Alright, so let's get started. After years of playing PvP, it has become quite obvious to me that Bungie's alternative to adding new PvP content is to constantly change the meta to try to keep PvP feeling fresh. I think it works somewhat well in the sense that we are often needing to use different loadouts to remain competitive in game modes like Throughts and Quick Play, but it becomes a bit tiring when that meta loadout feels like it needs to be used to stand a chance instead of just being an option you could use to be an effective player. My biggest complaint when it comes to the meta shifts is how heavily it has focused towards ability spam. I want to make this abundantly clear. I enjoy abilities in Destiny. They are a huge part of the power fantasy and what separates this game from other shooters. I just think lately it is trending towards what feels too much. I am aware that the amount of ability spam is only a problem if you have a problem with it. Some players want more. Some players think it's at a good spot. I'll remind you that I am dedicating this video to sharing my personal thoughts and feelings, and that there is no harm if you don't agree with me. I want to take a look at one of my recent experiences in the Crucible, the grind to ascend in rank in the competitive division. During this journey, it felt like every single game was played against triple Titans with storm grenades covering the map. Teams would only challenge fights when they had their barricade available. Every engagement opens up with a grenade, we all retreat when taking even the tiniest bit of damage. It gets extremely repetitive and uninteractive playing against it over and over. While the competitive mode is a place where people do whatever they can to win, it makes you realize that this is how PvP will continue to play out. Whether it's triple Titans with barricades or triple Hunters with invis, there will always be cheese, and as a player, I have to find ways to adapt and find the patience until we see another meta shift. To expect anything more would lead me to disappointment. I believe it would be fair to ask for metas to be less oppressive than they currently are. I'll take new metas, but it becomes more difficult to play through the more oppressive they are and the longer they last. Additionally, I am hesitant to ask for nerfs because we have historically seen that players will find a way to make use of their strong abilities no matter what the cooldowns look like. For a long time, the PvP meta was supers. They had extremely low cooldowns and lasted longer with more damage resistance. Many will remember dying multiple times to the same striker titan chasing players all over the map, or the one hunter who manages to wipe an entire team with one shatter dive. Recently, it has shifted towards strong class abilities and incredibly fast grenade cooldowns. I know if these get toned down, something else will take its place. And that's okay, that is Destiny. The pairing of gunplay and abilities is what makes the game fun. I can confidently say that I don't want Destiny to turn into Valorant or Call of Duty. Even though I acknowledge that abilities are a big part of the gameplay, I have to admit that I really miss when gunplay was more important. But this usually does get misinterpreted. I love strong primaries, but I always question why it results in making weapons that are not properly balanced amongst the rest of the sandbox. Just take a look at the current form DMT that gives you crit damage while shooting a player's pinky toe. Seriously, why can't we aim for the head? A big pain point relating to gunplay was the inability to properly play in the air because of airborne effectiveness. Initially, I was a big fan of this idea, but later resulted in me rejecting it because of the way it was executed. I don't like the feeling of beta testing unfinished systems in PvP, but in reality, I know that that is the most effective way of Bungie testing out these types of changes. I also know that this is going to be a reoccurring thing happening. So I have to be prepared to experience changes that have me scratching my head and asking, was this even playtested? I was able to take comfort knowing a significant change like the removal of AE is coming with Lightfall. I'm excited for that. This is why I'm so appreciative of any and all transparency provided by the devs, because it makes it possible to look forward to a brighter future for the game that we enjoy. Unfortunately, As a gamer, I just hate waiting. Some of the goals the game tries to reach take too long and adds more fire to the existing burn of playing through awkward phases of a change. An extra example I can provide is how they have been trying to keep the sandbox at 60-40 gunplay versus abilities for over a year now. From my personal experience, the current state of the Crucible does not represent that at all. A period of time that was meeting the goal was during the 30th anniversary sandbox. At this point, I have embraced the ride and I'm just gonna make the best out of the bumps created on the road. I want to focus on the present and think about how I can continue to have fun in the game that I am playing, because if I spend too much time thinking about future changes needed and comparing the game to a previous state, I will only remain unhappy with the current state of the game. Next up, can we talk about the content inside of PvP? As a player, I have been nothing but let down with the lack of content provided that doesn't come in the form of a sandbox update or PvE weapon players want for PvP. I think I can speak for everyone when I say that we want more maps. To defeat other guardians on different locations based in the Destiny universe would be amazing. We do know there are only 3 coming to the game next year. It was stated in the November 17th TWAB. They said, "We're bringing more maps to the Crucible over the next year. 2 maps are returning from the earlier years of Destiny 2, and the brand new map is being added during the year of Lightfall." That has to be a downgrade from the year 2022, where we received 4 maps. On top of that, only 2 of those were remastered from Destiny 2. I don't know about you, but I am a bigger fan of Destiny 1 maps returning instead of vaulted Destiny 2 maps coming back. For myself, I would be excited to see some of my favorites like Asylum, Firebase Delphi, Memento, or Floating Gardens return to the game. You may be wondering, aside from maps, what else is there in regards to content for Crucible? The answer is events. I'm not sure if you noticed it the way that I did, but I saw the moment Bungie removed Sources of Heroes Empowerment event from Crucible. Those events always made me look forward to the game, and I was really sad when I saw it gone. Let's think about it real quick. Remember Solar Empowerment? How you could become a flaming god with explosive heat waves coming out of your body and increasing the length of your solar super. What about Void Empowerment? How you could turn invisible after getting a kill whilst crouched. What about my favorite one, the Arc Empowerment? How you could have an infinite amount of sword energy refunded to you. While it may have been our only event in PvP ever, it was awesome and it gave me some of my best Destiny PvP memories. Now, are you ready to hear something that will shock you? Even if we get more content, and even if we get a balanced sandbox, it would all be for nothing if the matchmaking quality remains subpar. It could be because of my skill level and the bracket I'm placed into, but the matchmaking does consistently feel bad. This isn't to begin a discussion about skill-based matchmaking, but more to focus on the lag being experienced. You don't have to be like me, a IFrostBolt level player, to know that the lag is annoying several players. From people walking into walls to disappearing and reappearing at different spots. The lag has got to a point where I can't even laugh at it anymore. There used to be a game mode that no matter what the servers were doing, this mode remained as a safe space for good connections. That place was Trials of Osiris, and even in the past months, we have seen more laggy players in our matches. Whether it's the player's connection or the server, this does need to be addressed. In Bungie's November TWAB, we were told that starting season 19, sometime in January, we would be introduced to some changes to the matchmaking, specifically towards improving the connection at the high end of the skill bracket. This comes in the form of what they call dynamic skill ranges. So I am hoping that this makes a significant improvement to our overall experience. Skill-based matchmaking has done some good for players in the lower skill bracket, but the bad is overwhelming even the average players. It's as if we're playing a minigame trying to figure out which enemy will be the laggy one. Shifting to a more positive note, I would like to talk about my favorite part of the Crucible. This game's sandbox can entertain me in ways that no other game has managed to do. I log in and find new ways to make exotic weapons and armor as effective as possible. The feeling I get when creating a build to work to my advantage is just something that I have never been able to replicate in another shooter. That's what keeps me coming back, and that's what drives me to push through these slower times where there is less hype and excitement for PvP. I'm thankful that I enjoy PvE just as much as well, because I absolutely love the gameplay loop of grinding PvE for those items to bring into the Crucible, then Crucible being the reason why I want to grind PvE even more. I don't see myself stepping away anytime soon, but that does not mean I wouldn't take breathers to play other games, because at this point I have accepted the fact that Destiny 2 is not meant to keep a hardcore player like me hooked on for hours a day. And now we have arrived to the end of the video. Thank you for listening to my thoughts and feelings so far. I'm going to continue to make the best out of Crucible. While I will always have my criticisms, I hold them close to myself because that's just the current state of Crucible. As much as I would love immediate changes or changes that would improve my personal experience, that's just not the way things work. I would continue to hinder my enjoyment of the game if I held my expectations too high or constantly keep trying to push my idea of what would make PvP great again. Bungie has their plans for the game, and as a player, I literally just have to play it out.